Evening, everyone. It's Wednesday evening around 6:15, and this is your closing comment. It is video number 666 uh, on Wednesday the 10th. Okay, so we had some numbers this morning. We had CPI, which was up 0.4%, which is pretty much just in line with what was expected, as was core CPI, which is ex food and energy, again, for people who neither drive nor eat. It came in at zero point 0.1 versus an expectation of 0.1. A little later on, we had the budget deficit, but the market shook that off. The budget deficit for the month was 310.9 billion. Pardon me, for February, versus 235.3. So pretty crappy numbers, and the year-over-year numbers are just as bad. But the market started up. Futures were actually down pre-market until that CPI information came out, and they opened up about 200 in the Dow and up about 100 in the Nas, and 15 or 17 in the S&P. At the close, though, the Dow was up 464.28. That's a new high and a new closing high, up 1.46%. The NASDAQ, which was up as much as 204, actually finished down 499. S&P up 23.37 or 0.6%. Again, the Russell broadest index up 40.62 or 1.8%, the big winner, and the transports up 83.04 or also 0.6%. The advanced declines on the NYSE were 3-1 to the upside, and even though it closed down minorly on the day and 200 off the high, they were 1.8 to 1 on the NASDAQ, and volume was a little bit lighter. Financials, energy, materials, and industrials were the big gainers. And as you can see with the NASDAQ being down, information technology was the weak sister. So, all kinds of news and all kinds of action. Let's go to the meme stocks first, since everybody is curious about those. GameStop closed 246 yesterday. This morning, it opened up and was as high as 348.5. It then turned back down and got cut in half to 172, turned and rallied back 70% to 306, and last was 268, up 2081 or 8.7%. COS, the earphone company, 1790, traded as high as 40.48, came down not quite 50% to 23.20, moved back up 50% to 32.50, and the last was 29.20, up $11.30 or 62%. AMC was a little bit different. It traded as high as 11.16 pre-market, but only made it to 10.95 in the real world, was down to 9.51, but had earnings today after the close. It also had a new price target put on it, and I'll save that for last. The stock, as I said, 10.95 to 9.51. They lost roughly $1 billion or $3.15 a share. They completely missed, obviously, on earnings with a slight beat on revenues, and the last trade that I saw was 10.80, up 30 cents. Rich Greenfield from Lightshed put a new target on AMC. It's a penny. 1 penny. Doesn't surprise me. This is the same story that I gave you on the airlines last night and this morning. This company will never make money again. They are so drowning in debt. And frankly, the whole Disney Plus issue over the weekend with Cinemark and Disney, with Disney releasing their stuff much earlier than expected and on Disney Plus, as opposed to in the theaters, seems to be the trend, not an outlier. And so if you look at the 2019 EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation, the maximum that AMC had was about $900 million. It's not going to come back to that. And even if it did, they could still not support the amount of debt that they've taken on and the amount of earnings. Let's remember that this company did a pretty big deal. I believe they issued 17 or 18 million shares a couple of weeks ago, which increased their outstanding by about 20 odd percent. So there's straight dilution there, and they're not going to be able to pay their bills. And that's if it comes back. If it only comes back halfway, they disappear even faster. So Greenfield says, he's from Lightshed, and they put out a big negative on Fubo TV, which has proven to be correct. They're looking for a penny. And frankly, I can't really dispute it or in any way find anything wrong with the rationale. GE had an investor day today, and nobody liked anything that they heard. The company is talking about a reverse split to bring the stock price up. I'm actually hoping that they don't do that. It doesn't work. People with odd lots turn around and sell it. Most people don't round up, they round down. The stock closed 13 and a quarter, down 75 cents or 5.4%. And frankly, I think that they will reverse that course. Oracle beat top and bottom, but guidance was only so-so. The dividend was up 33% to 32 cents a share for the quarter. They're going to do a buyback of up to $20 billion. But the stock has been up and very strong. In fact, before the earnings came today, it actually made a new high at 73.62 and then came straight back down to 67.29, and the last is 67.58, and that's down 504 or 7%. And last but not least, another one of those home run biotech deals, Aveo Oncology. They have a newly approved drug for something called RCC, renal cell carcinoma. And the stock actually closed yesterday at 808, and that's where it opened today. It got as high as 2074, and the last is 1939, and that's up $10.31 or 140%. This chart on the screen is Bitcoin, and clearly there is nothing except to call this what it is. This is a clear breakout on the close, new high close. This close was, I think, 55,530. The next day, it made a high of 57,790. Today's close of 56,620 is a new high close and a new trade, although only by $25. It is roughly unchanged right now, but I don't see anything that's going to keep this from moving through 60 up to the 68 or 70,000 level. Oil was up 43 cents after being down this morning, and so the energy stocks were strong. We had a 10-year note auction that went okay, and rates crept down a little. In fact, the 30-year bond was up about 3/8 of a dollar at the close, and the U.S. dollar was 91.82, which was down 14 cents. It made a high yesterday of 92.27, I believe. Today's was 92.25, and the low 91.77. So that's pretty much where we are. It was an interesting day. I don't have any issue with the fact that the NASDAQ closed towards the lows. It had a lot of consolidating. You just don't see the NASDAQ go up 3.75% or 4% without some sort of pullback. And I think that the market internals were great. 1.8 to 1 for a down day is good. Last Friday, I want to remind you that the NASDAQ was down 300, and I mentioned it both in my note over the weekend and this morning. The advanced declines that day were 1 to 1. So down 300 and 1 to 1 internals is a lot stronger than it appeared. All right, everyone. I'll be back first thing in the morning. Have a good evening.